In this video, we're going to be talking about DCS substantiations and appeals in Indiana. About me, my name is Nathan Vining. I am a family law attorney here in Indiana, and I help people with a lot of different DCS issues throughout the state. This is an interesting video because a lot of times people may actually work through a DCS case and then walk away with the substantiation and then have some fallout due to that substantiation. And there's a lot you can do to help avoid the negative fallout from a DCS case. So what is a DCS substantiation? If DCS shows up at your house, does an investigation, that investigation will either substantiate abuse or neglect or walk away with no findings. If there is that substantiation where they found abuse or neglect was present, they will then send out a written notice that indicates that there's been a finding of abuse that they are substantiating, and then they record that in what's known as a child protective index, where it's a state database where you are then known as a person who has neglected or abused a child, which can impact your rights and have consequences. For instance, you may not be able to go on school field trips, you can't work in the child care industry, there's certain healthcare jobs you can't have, certain law enforcement jobs you can't have. So there's a lot of consequences to being on the child protection index. So if you have a substantiation against you, there's something that you can hire an attorney and actually appeal and have that removed. And that's important because if you've been involved with DCS, you may see that there's issues. A lot of times with DCS cases, there's inadequate investigations. They only do partial investigation. They didn't talk to all the witnesses. There's a lot of things you can do to show that DCS got it wrong, that there was no abuse or neglect, and that the substantiation to be reversed. So this is a very important topic, something that we do a lot of. So here's an example. We recently had a father who was substantiated on for abuse. The situation, it threatened his reputation in the community. He owned his own business, so it impacted his business, his job security, his standing in the community. He didn't want to be known as somebody that abused or neglected a child. Even though these things are confidential, it's still, he felt that this was important to correct. DCS didn't do a complete investigation, and we were able to bring in 2 additional witnesses who were present around the time of the allegations, and they were able to testify that there was actually no abuse occurring. And then even broader, we were able to tell the story of the family dynamic. And this was a child who had been struggling, and we were able to bring in evidence about the broader family dynamic to show the judge what was going on in this situation and show them that there was no abuse occurring. And the outcome was that we were able to reverse the substantiation, so then he was no longer recorded in the Child Protection Index, which is a really big deal for him. So if you have a substantiation, I think we talked about this in the first slide, but there can be employment restrictions, legal consequences. For instance, if you want to foster a child, you can't foster a child. It could lead to issues with adoption. And then it's also just that reputational damage and then implications around being excluded from things like your kids' field trips and things like that. So if you have been substantiated against, you want to protect your rights in future. You want to make sure you initiate the appeal properly so you can do what you can to reduce the substantiation. So really how it works is you're going to receive a notice from DCS that DCS will say what your appeal rights are. You have to submit certain documents with that, the investigation report as well as the notice of appeal, and then you submit that. And then from there, you would get assigned a case number and court date in the administrative courts. It will be assigned to an administrative judge. They will then hold a hearing and set dates of when you need to have evidence submitted by, as well as a trial date. And then you can have a hearing in front of the judge where you can go and present evidence as to why you should not be substantiated against, and they will make a finding. So if you're in this situation, you should definitely hire an attorney. It's in front of an administrative judge, but it is a real trial, and there's going to be the opportunity for discovery where you present your case, go out and get evidence to show why DCS got this wrong, and then present that to the judge accordingly. So if you have questions, give me a call. Like I said, I work with families that are involved with DCS and can help you if you've been substantiated against. So here's my number. Give me a call or text me.